What if the universe was just an illusion? Imagine, just for a moment, waking up one morning and realizing that everything you have ever known, every star twinkling in the night sky, every grain of sand beneath your feet, every face you have ever loved or hated, was nothing more than a grand illusion. Not just a trick of the light or a fleeting dream, but a carefully woven, all-encompassing facade that hides the true nature of reality from your senses and mind. What if the universe itself, with its vast galaxies, intricate laws of physics, and the very fabric of space and time, were not truly real, but an elaborate illusion? This question might sound like the plot of a science fiction novel or a mind-bending philosophical puzzle. Yet, it touches on one of the oldest and most profound mysteries humans have ever grappled with. What is reality? We trust our senses to tell us the truth about the world. We build our lives, our societies, and our scientific knowledge on the assumption that what we see, hear, and touch reflects an objective external world. But what if this foundational belief is wrong? What if the universe we experience is more akin to a virtual reality, a holographic projection, or even a dream, and the true nature of existence lies hidden beneath this shimmering veil? Philosophers have wrestled with the nature of reality for thousands of years. Ancient thinkers like Plato described our world as mere shadows cast on a cave wall, suggesting that what we perceive are faint reflections of a deeper, more authentic reality. Eastern philosophies, too, have long asserted that the material world is Maya, illusion, urging seekers to look beyond appearances to find enlightenment. Fast forward to the modern era, where cutting-edge science and quantum physics have uncovered phenomena that challenge our common-sense understanding of how the universe works. Particles can exist in multiple places at once. Reality seems to depend on observation, and space-time might be a malleable, emergent phenomenon rather than an absolute stage. But what if, instead of just an abstract idea or a philosophical metaphor, the illusion hypothesis were a literal truth that humanity stumbled upon? Imagine scientists discovering incontrovertible evidence that everything we call reality is a construct, a simulation, a hologram, or a mental projection created by forces beyond our comprehension. How would such a revelation affect our understanding of existence, the meaning of life, and even our place in the cosmos? How would society react to learning that the universe is a vast illusion? Would we panic, despair, or embrace a new way of seeing ourselves and the world? This is not just idle speculation. Today, the boundary between science and philosophy is blurrier than ever. Some leading physicists and cosmologists seriously entertain ideas like the holographic principle or simulation theory. Advancements in virtual reality technology and artificial intelligence hint at a future where simulated worlds could rival or even surpass the complexity of our own universe. Meanwhile, neuroscience shows that our brain constructs the reality we experience, filling in gaps, interpreting sensory data, and sometimes deceiving us with illusions and hallucinations. In this video, we will embark on a journey into the heart of this astonishing possibility. We will explore what it would mean if the universe was an illusion, not just metaphorically, but in a literal, scientific, and philosophical sense. We'll consider the social, psychological, and scientific impacts of such a discovery, and imagine how humanity might adapt to a reality that suddenly seems less certain than ever before. So take a deep breath and open your mind to the unimaginable. What if everything you see, feel, and know is just a shimmering veil hiding a deeper truth? What if the universe itself is nothing more than an illusion? Before humanity could even begin to entertain the idea that the universe might be an illusion, we lived in a world anchored firmly in what we believed to be objective reality. Our scientific understanding of the cosmos had been steadily built upon centuries of observation, experimentation, and technological innovation. The universe was vast and mysterious, but it followed rules, laws of physics that could be tested and predicted. Gravity pulled planets in their orbits. Light traveled at a constant speed. Matter was composed of atoms and particles. These principles formed the backbone of modern science, giving us a seemingly reliable map of reality. Society thrived under this assumption of an objective world. Our technology, smartphones, satellites, computers, relied on the predictable behavior of physical laws. Medicine advanced by studying the human body as a biological machine. Social structures, economies, and even our concepts of identity rested on shared, consistent experiences of reality. If you touched a chair, it was solid. If you looked up, you saw the same sky as everyone else. This shared reality allowed humanity to collaborate, innovate, and build complex civilizations. But even before any hint of illusion was proposed, cracks appeared in this worldview. Quantum mechanics, the study of nature at the smallest scales, began to unravel the classical picture of the universe. At the quantum level, particles could exist in multiple places at once, only settling into a definite state when observed. This strange phenomenon baffled scientists and challenged the very idea of an objective, observer-independent reality. Experiments like the famous double-slit experiment showed that the act of measurement seemed to influence outcomes, implying that reality at its core might depend on perception itself. Simultaneously, cosmologists discovered that the universe was expanding, tracing its origins back to a mysterious event known as the Big Bang. They identified dark matter and dark energy, enigmatic components making up most of the universe's mass energy content, but invisible and detectable only through their gravitational effects. These discoveries suggested that much of what composes reality remains unknown, hidden beyond our direct senses and current instruments. Technological progress also brought society closer to a new relationship with reality. Virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR, emerged as technologies capable of simulating environments and experiences indistinguishable from the physical world. These digital constructs provided people with new ways to interact, learn, and entertain themselves, blurring the line between what was real and what was artificially created. While these simulations were still limited, they hinted at the possibility of creating entire worlds, a fact not lost on thinkers contemplating the nature of the universe itself. On a social level, humanity became increasingly connected through the internet and global communication networks, sharing perspectives and experiences at unprecedented speeds. Yet, this hyper-connected world also exposed how subjective our perceptions could be. The rise of fake news, misinformation, and digital echo chambers showed how easily reality could be shaped, distorted, or even fabricated through language, media, and technology. Philosophically, many individuals began questioning the nature of consciousness and reality. The idea that our minds might be creating or filtering the reality we perceive gained traction not just in academic circles, but in popular culture. Meditation, psychedelic experiences, and spiritual practices often emphasized the illusory nature of the self and the material world, echoing ancient wisdom in new contexts. So before any dramatic revelation, humanity stood at a crossroads, armed with remarkable knowledge and tools, yet increasingly aware of the mysteries and paradoxes underlying existence. The notion of an illusory universe was no longer pure fantasy, but a question emerging from the frontier where science, technology, and philosophy intersected. This complex landscape set the stage for a breakthrough, a moment when the boundary between illusion and reality would be challenged in an unprecedented way. It was within this context of scientific curiosity, technological innovation, and philosophical inquiry that the question, "What if the universe was just an illusion?" moved from abstract speculation to a tangible possibility. As the lines between the physical and the virtual began to blur, humanity's understanding of reality was about to be shaken at its core. Then came the moment that would forever change humanity's perception of reality, a moment born from the relentless pursuit of knowledge in one of the most advanced scientific facilities ever built. Deep beneath the surface of the Earth, in a sprawling underground particle accelerator, an international team of physicists was pushing the boundaries of quantum exploration. Their goal was to uncover new fundamental particles and unlock the secrets of the universe's most basic building blocks. But what they found was something entirely unexpected, something that would shake the very foundation of physics and philosophy alike. During an experiment designed to probe the fabric of space-time at unprecedented scales, researchers began noticing peculiar anomalies in their data. These were not the faint hints of new particles or exotic forces they anticipated, but irregular glitches, sudden fluctuations that seemed to disrupt the smooth continuum of reality. Like a digital screen flickering or pixels misaligning, these disturbances suggested that the universe's fabric might be discrete rather than continuous, composed of fundamental units, much like the pixels on a computer monitor. Initially, the scientific community was skeptical. Could it be equipment malfunction? Data corruption? Cosmic rays? But as the anomalies persisted across multiple experiments and independent research groups replicated the findings, it became increasingly clear that something profound was unfolding. These glitches weren't just noise, they were signals hinting at a deeper, underlying structure to reality, one that defied conventional understanding. Simultaneously, developments in quantum computing and information theory provided a theoretical framework to interpret these results. A growing body of work proposed that the universe itself could be understood as a kind of computational system, processing vast amounts of information to generate the reality we perceive. This simulation hypothesis suggested that what we experience as physical existence might actually be the output of complex algorithms running on an unknown substrate, perhaps in dimensions or realms beyond our own. News of this discovery spread rapidly. Media outlets around the world ran headlines questioning the nature of existence. Is reality a computer simulation? Scientists detect universe's code? Are we living in a cosmic illusion? The revelation ignited public fascination and fear. People everywhere wrestled with the implications. If reality was a simulation, who or what was running it? Were we characters in a cosmic video game? Did free will still exist, or were our lives scripted? Among scientists, debates raged. Some embraced the evidence as a revolutionary breakthrough, urging further research into the computational fabric of the cosmos. Others cautioned that the findings were preliminary and required more rigorous testing. Philosophers pondered the consequences for consciousness, identity, and ethics. Theologians interpreted the discovery through spiritual lenses, considering parallels with concepts of divine creation or illusion. For the general public, the revelation triggered a spectrum of reactions. Some felt liberated, believing that if the universe was an illusion, suffering and hardship might be transcended through understanding and mastery of the underlying code. Others experienced existential dread, grappling with the notion that their reality was not fundamental, but constructed, and possibly fragile or manipulable. Psychologists observed rising rates of anxiety and disorientation as people struggled to reconcile their intuitive sense of reality with the unsettling new perspective. Online forums and social networks became battlegrounds of ideas, theories, and fears, with conspiracy theories flourishing amid the uncertainty. Meanwhile, technologists and futurists saw opportunity. If reality was programmable, perhaps it could be engineered or enhanced. Concepts once confined to science fiction, digital immortality, reality editing, consciousness uploading, began to seem attainable goals rather than fantasies. The moment of revelation was not just a scientific event. It was a cultural and existential milestone. Humanity was no longer just observers of the universe, but participants in a mystery that questioned the very nature of existence. The line between illusion and reality blurred as never before, forcing us to confront questions that had lingered for millennia, but were now pressing with urgent immediacy. This turning point marked the dawn of a new era, one where the quest to understand the universe became inseparable from the quest to understand ourselves. In the immediate aftermath of the groundbreaking discovery that reality itself might be an elaborate illusion, The shockwaves rippled through every corner of human society. The initial exhilaration and wonder were quickly tempered by an undercurrent of uncertainty and unease. Economies wavered, social institutions hesitated, and individuals everywhere struggled to make sense of a world suddenly less certain, less tangible than before. Financial markets, always sensitive to shifts in collective confidence, experienced bouts of volatility. Investors questioned the foundation of value itself. If the material universe was merely a simulation, what gave currency, assets, or property their worth? Could an economic system grounded in physical resources survive when those resources might be illusory? As a result, speculative bubbles popped, and some industries experienced temporary collapse, while others, especially those related to technology and virtual reality, surged ahead. On the streets, the discovery sparked diverse reactions. Some people found new freedom in the idea that reality was malleable, embracing philosophies that encouraged detachment from material concerns and a focus on consciousness or inner experience. Movements inspired by ancient spiritual traditions like Buddhism and Vedanta gained new adherents as their teachings about illusion and perception resonated with the emerging worldview. Meditation centers, mindfulness workshops, and psychedelic retreats flourished, offering tools to navigate a reality that seemed simultaneously real and unreal. Conversely, there were those who rejected the new paradigm outright. Skeptics and traditionalists viewed the illusion hypothesis as a dangerous heresy, threatening social order and shared values. Conspiracy theories proliferated, rumors of hidden puppet masters manipulating reality, of secret technologies used to control minds, or of a cosmic experiment run by unfathomable entities. These theories fueled distrust in governments, scientific institutions, and even one's neighbors, fracturing communities and intensifying political polarization. Governments and policymakers faced unprecedented challenges. How do you regulate behavior or enforce laws in a world where the nature of reality is questioned? Some authorities doubled down on control, deploying surveillance and propaganda to maintain order, while others experimented with more transparent governance models that acknowledged the uncertainty of existence. Public discourse became dominated by debates over ontology, ethics, and the limits of human knowledge. Despite the turmoil, some benefits emerged. New technologies designed to harness the illusion theory were rapidly developed. Virtual and augmented reality platforms became more immersive, enabling people to experience and even create realities tailored to their desires and needs. Therapies based on manipulating perception showed promise in treating mental health disorders, addiction, and trauma. The arts flourished as creators explored the blurred boundaries between the real and the imagined, giving rise to new genres of expression that captivated global audiences. Education systems also began adapting. Curricula incorporated critical thinking about perception, reality, and consciousness from early ages. Students learned to question assumptions, embrace uncertainty, and develop skills for navigating a complex, layered world. However, amid the early optimism and innovation, cautionary voices warned of potential dangers. Philosophers and ethicists highlighted risks of escapism, loss of empathy, and societal fragmentation. Psychologists cautioned about widespread existential anxiety and the mental health toll of grappling with an unstable reality. Environmentalists worried that if nature was deemed illusory, efforts to protect ecosystems might falter. In households and personal lives, the discovery led to profound shifts. Some individuals reevaluated priorities, seeking deeper meaning beyond material success. Relationships were tested as partners, and families confronted differing beliefs about the nature of their shared world. Communities formed around new spiritual and philosophical outlooks, while others retreated into skepticism or nihilism. The early ripples of this revelation were a complex mix of hope and fear, progress and peril. Humanity had been thrust into a profound paradigm shift, one that challenged not just science and philosophy, but the very fabric of social and personal existence. As society began to adapt, the question remained: could we harness the power of this new understanding, Or would it unravel the delicate threads that hold civilization together? The journey into the deeper consequences of this discovery was only beginning. And humanity stood at a crossroads between transformation and chaos. As the initial shock of discovering the universe might be an illusion began to settle, humanity faced a far more complex and profound challenge: understanding the long-term consequences of this revelation on every aspect of life. What started as a scientific curiosity had blossomed into a force reshaping environmental policies, healthcare, geopolitics, social dynamics, and even the core of human consciousness. One of the most immediate and surprising arenas impacted was the environment. For centuries, humanity had waged battles against pollution, deforestation, and climate change, driven by the conviction that the natural world was sacred and tangible. Yet, with the knowledge that the universe itself might be a construct, an elaborate projection, debates erupted over the moral and practical significance of conserving what could now be viewed as an illusion. Would it still make sense to protect endangered species or preserve ecosystems if their existence was no longer absolute? Some argued that such reasoning could lead to apathy, even ecological collapse. Others countered that whether illusory or not, the environment affected human experience and well-being, and thus deserved respect and care. In healthcare, the illusion hypothesis spurred revolutionary new approaches. Researchers began focusing on the mind's role in shaping physical reality, developing therapies that targeted consciousness, perception, and neurological processes. Mental health treatments became more personalized and effective, leveraging techniques to reprogram the brain's interpretation of reality, reducing suffering from anxiety, depression, and trauma. Advances in neurotechnology allowed patients to interact with simulated realities tailored to their healing needs. However, these breakthroughs also raised ethical dilemmas. How much manipulation of perception was acceptable? Could such power be misused to alter memories or control behavior? Geopolitically, the world entered a period of tension and realignment. Nations raced to harness quantum computing and related technologies seen as keys to unlocking and manipulating the illusion of reality. The control of such technologies became the new frontier of power, supplanting traditional resources like oil or minerals. International treaties were negotiated to establish ethical guidelines and prevent abuses, but enforcement remained challenging in a world where the fabric of reality itself was questioned. Moreover, the illusion revelation intensified ideological divides. Some governments embraced it as an opportunity for technological and societal evolution, while others resisted, fearing loss of control or cultural destabilization. Social relations and community bonds also underwent transformation. The awareness of reality's fluidity prompted many to reconsider the nature of identity and free will. Philosophical debates on whether consciousness was fundamental or emergent took center stage. Some embraced a view of the self as a transient, constructed phenomenon within layers of illusion, fostering humility and compassion. Others, however, struggled with existential despair or nihilism, questioning the authenticity of relationships, achievements, and even their own existence. Cultural expressions flourished in this fertile ground of uncertainty. Art, literature, music, and film explored themes of illusion, identity, and cosmic mystery with newfound depth. New genres emerged that blended virtual reality, interactive storytelling, and immersive experiences, allowing audiences to engage directly with the fluid boundaries between real and unreal. Educational systems adapted to cultivate critical thinking about perception and reality, preparing future generations to navigate an increasingly complex world. Yet, amid these advances, challenges mounted. Economic inequalities were exacerbated as access to reality-shaping technologies remained uneven, deepening social divides. Mental health crises persisted, with some populations vulnerable to disorientation and despair. Environmental degradation continued where apathy or fatalism took hold. Perhaps most striking was the evolution of human consciousness itself. The illusion hypothesis compelled us to confront the possibility that our very minds were entangled in layers of constructed reality, challenging centuries-old assumptions about the soul, free will, and the meaning of life. Spiritual traditions found renewed relevance, offering frameworks to understand and integrate these insights. In the long term, the revelation that the universe might be an illusion did not diminish life's significance. Instead, it reshaped our understanding of what it means to exist, to connect, and to create meaning. Humanity stood at a crossroads, not merely between belief and disbelief, but between despair and hope, fragmentation and unity, ignorance and profound insight. The consequences of this discovery would ripple through generations, weaving into the very fabric of future societies, cultures, and individual lives. The question was no longer if the universe was an illusion, but how humanity would respond to that truth, whether it would be a catalyst for collapse or a springboard toward a new, enlightened existence. To truly grasp how the universe might be an illusion, we must delve into the cutting-edge science that challenges our everyday experience and suggests that reality is far stranger than we ever imagined. At first glance, the world seems solid, continuous, and predictable. Yet, when scientists peer deeper into the quantum realm, the fabric of space-time, and the workings of consciousness, they uncover a universe that behaves less like a machine and more like a complex, layered construct. One of the most puzzling insights comes from quantum mechanics, the branch of physics that studies particles smaller than atoms. Here, particles such as electrons don't behave like tiny billiard balls, but more like waves of probability, existing in multiple states simultaneously. Until observed, these particles are in a superposition, a blend of possibilities. It's only upon measurement that the wave function collapses into a definite state. This observer-dependent reality suggests that the act of perception itself plays a fundamental role in shaping the universe. Adding to this mystery is the phenomenon of quantum entanglement, where particles become linked across vast distances, instantly influencing each other regardless of space and time. This spooky action at a distance, as Einstein called it, implies that our classical ideas of locality and separateness might be illusions. Instead, the universe might be an interconnected web where boundaries between objects are not as clear-cut as they seem. Parallel to these quantum revelations is the holographic principle, a groundbreaking concept proposed by physicists studying black holes and string theory. The principle posits that all the information contained within a volume of space can be encoded on its two-dimensional boundary, much like a hologram, where a flat surface creates a three-dimensional image. If true, this means that our three-dimensional world is essentially a projection from a lower-dimensional reality, turning our perception of space inside out. The quest to unify gravity with quantum mechanics, two pillars of physics that traditionally don't mesh, has led scientists to explore theories like loop quantum gravity and string theory, suggesting that space-time itself is not fundamental, but emergent from more basic informational or quantum building blocks. In this view, space and time could be the byproducts of underlying quantum processes, much like how pixels combine to form a digital image. Artificial intelligence and computational sciences offer another lens through which to view the illusion hypothesis. Some theorists propose that the universe operates like an immense quantum computer, processing information at unimaginable speeds and scales to generate the phenomena we perceive as reality. This simulation hypothesis imagines that the cosmos is the output of algorithms, where physical laws are rules within a grand computational system. While this idea remains speculative, it provides a framework that connects physics, information theory, and metaphysics. From the perspective of biology and neuroscience, the brain itself constructs our experience of reality. Sensory organs gather data, but the brain interprets, filters, and fills in gaps, creating a cohesive narrative that allows us to navigate the world. This means what we perceive as real is actually a mental model optimized for survival, not a direct mirror of external truth. Optical illusions, dreams, and altered states of consciousness remind us that perception can be deceived. When these scientific threads are woven together, a picture emerges of a universe that is not an immutable, objective entity, but a dynamic, multi-layered system, where reality is constructed, relational, and potentially illusory. The boundaries between matter, information, consciousness, and space-time blur. Understanding these mechanisms does more than challenge scientific dogma. It invites us to reconsider our place in the cosmos. Are we passive observers of a fixed universe, or active participants in shaping a fluid reality? Could consciousness itself be fundamental, a core aspect of the cosmic illusion? And if reality is a projection, can it be altered, controlled, or transcended? These questions push the limits of science, philosophy, and spirituality alike, opening pathways toward new ways of knowing and being. As we peel back the layers of the universe's illusion, we confront not only the mysteries of matter and energy, but the profound enigma of consciousness and existence itself. As the illusion hypothesis settled into public consciousness, the initial awe and curiosity gave way to deep unease. The very fabric of society began to unravel under the weight of uncertainty. When the nature of reality itself becomes questionable, the foundations that hold communities, economies, and institutions together start to tremble, and in many places, they collapsed. At the heart of this crisis was a profound existential disorientation. Individuals struggling to reconcile the idea that their lives, memories, and experiences might be part of an elaborate illusion faced intense psychological strain. Rates of depression, anxiety, and identity disorders soared. Mental health systems, already under pressure, were overwhelmed by a wave of existential despair and cognitive dissonance. Many found themselves questioning the authenticity of their relationships, their achievements, even their own consciousness. Social cohesion frayed as communities polarized over the new reality. Some embraced the illusion theory as liberating and transformative, adopting philosophies of detachment or cosmic unity. Others rejected it vehemently, clinging to traditional beliefs or conspiracy theories that cast the discovery as a hoax or a tool of manipulation. Online platforms became battlegrounds where truth was contested and information weaponized, fueling tribalism and misinformation. Economically, the impact was profound and destabilizing. Financial markets, already volatile from the initial revelation, experienced prolonged uncertainty. Trust in physical assets and currencies eroded as people questioned the value of material wealth in an illusory universe. The global economy teetered on the brink as speculative bubbles burst and consumer confidence plummeted. Industries dependent on tangible goods struggled, while sectors tied to digital realities and consciousness technologies surged. Governments faced unprecedented challenges. The legitimacy of authority was questioned as populations demanded transparency about the nature of reality and control over the technologies that shaped perception. Some regimes resorted to authoritarian measures to maintain order, using surveillance, censorship, and propaganda to suppress dissent and manage social unrest. Others collapsed under pressure, unable to address the complex ethical and practical dilemmas posed by the illusion revelation. Science itself was not immune to the crisis. The initial excitement over the discovery devolved into fierce disputes among researchers. Factions formed around competing interpretations of the data, leading to fragmentation and a loss of public trust in scientific institutions. Funding dried up as governments and private investors hesitated amid growing skepticism and political instability. Amid the turmoil, technologies once hailed as breakthroughs became double-edged swords. Reality manipulation tools, neural interfaces, and immersive simulations were exploited for control and influence. Questions of consent, privacy, and autonomy became urgent ethical battlegrounds. The blurred lines between authentic experience and artificial construct created new forms of addiction, escapism, and social alienation. The natural environment also suffered. With debates raging over the reality of the physical world, commitment to conservation faltered. Some individuals and corporations exploited the ambiguity to justify environmental exploitation, accelerating ecological decline. The consequences of this neglect compounded existing climate crises, threatening the planet's resilience. Despite the chaos, pockets of resilience emerged. Grassroots movements advocating for mental health, community rebuilding, and ethical technology use sought to counterbalance despair and fragmentation. Philosophers, artists, and spiritual leaders called for new narratives that embraced uncertainty while fostering meaning and connection. Yet, the crisis reached a crescendo, a tipping point where humanity faced a stark choice: succumb to nihilism and collapse, or find new ways to adapt and rebuild in a world where reality itself was no longer absolute. The illusion was no longer an abstract concept, but a catalyst for profound societal upheaval, forcing humanity to confront the fragility of its foundations and the urgency of transformation. Amidst the chaos and fragmentation unleashed by the revelation that the universe might be an illusion, humanity's resilience and creativity sparked a powerful counterforce, a bold effort to adapt, survive, and even thrive in this new reality. The crisis, while devastating, became a crucible for transformation, driving radical innovations in technology, society, and philosophy. At the forefront were communities and movements that embraced the fluidity of reality, rather than resisting it. These groups promoted philosophies emphasizing interconnectedness, mindfulness, and the co-creation of experience. Practices once confined to spiritual traditions, meditation, lucid dreaming, and consciousness exploration were integrated with cutting-edge neurotechnology, allowing people to intentionally shape their perceptions and emotional states. This new digital spiritual synthesis helped many regain a sense of agency and meaning. Technologically, humanity accelerated the development of tools to interface directly with the fabric of reality, or what was now understood as its illusion. Neural implants and brain-computer interfaces advanced rapidly, enabling individuals to augment their senses, access shared virtual worlds, and even modify their subjective experience of time and space. These innovations opened unprecedented possibilities for learning, creativity, and healing, transforming education, medicine, and the arts. Governments and global institutions, shaken by prior upheavals, began to experiment with new forms of governance better suited to a complex, multi-layered reality. Decentralized decision-making, participatory democracy, and transparent data ecosystems emerged as alternatives to traditional top-down structures. Ethical frameworks evolved to address the unique challenges of manipulating perception, protecting privacy, and ensuring equitable access to reality-shaping technologies. One of the most ambitious responses was the push for space colonization and the exploration of alternative realities beyond Earth. As Earth's environment and social fabric remained fragile, many envisioned a future where humanity could inhabit digital realms, off-world colonies, or even newly discovered dimensions. These ventures were framed not just as escapes, but as experiments in building new forms of society and consciousness, learning to live intentionally within and beyond the illusion. Culturally, the arts flourished with renewed vigor. Creators blended technology and philosophy to craft immersive experiences that explored the nature of illusion, identity, and existence. Interactive storytelling, virtual rituals, and multisensory performances became common, offering spaces for collective reflection and healing. This cultural renaissance helped bridge divides, fostering empathy and shared meaning. Education systems underwent profound transformation, emphasizing adaptability, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. Teaching children to navigate ambiguity, question assumptions, and collaborate across diverse realities became foundational. Curricula integrated science, philosophy, and spirituality, nurturing holistic understanding. Yet, this era was not without conflict and tension. Ethical dilemmas around consent, autonomy, and the potential for misuse of reality-shaping technologies required constant vigilance. Social inequalities persisted, as access to advanced tools remained uneven. Debates about the nature of consciousness and the self continued to challenge established beliefs. Nonetheless, humanity's bold response was characterized by hope, ingenuity, and a willingness to confront uncertainty with courage. The crisis revealed not only vulnerabilities, but also profound strengths, the capacity to rethink identity, to rebuild society, and to co-create new realities. In embracing the illusion rather than fearing it, humanity embarked on a new evolutionary path, transforming the mystery of existence into an opportunity for growth and transcendence. As decades passed, the tumultuous period of crisis and adaptation gradually gave way to a new epoch, one in which humanity not only accepted but embraced the fluid, multi-layered nature of reality. This emerging world was a profound departure from the rigid, materialist worldview that had dominated for centuries. It was a world where the boundaries between the physical and the virtual, the real and the illusory, blurred and intertwined, creating an ever-shifting tapestry of experience. In this new reality, people lived across multiple planes simultaneously. Physical existence remained important but no longer exclusive. Virtual worlds, meticulously crafted and interconnected, became as vital as tangible environments. Augmented realities layered new dimensions onto daily life, enriching perception and interaction. Many individuals moved seamlessly between these realms, working, learning, creating, and socializing. In spaces that transcended traditional notions of time and location, society reorganized around shared values and experiences rather than fixed identities or material possessions. Concepts of self evolved from rigid, isolated entities to fluid, dynamic processes interconnected with others and with the fabric of reality itself. This shift fostered empathy, cooperation, and a deeper sense of collective responsibility. Science continued its quest not to conquer nature, but to understand and harmonize with the underlying patterns of the cosmos, patterns now understood as both informational and conscious in nature. New technologies empowered humanity to manipulate reality's very fabric, altering physical laws locally, enhancing cognitive capacities, and exploring consciousness beyond biological limits. Ethical frameworks matured alongside these capabilities, emphasizing balance, respect, and humility. The recognition that all existence, whether physical, virtual, or transcendent, was interconnected inspired a universal ethic centered on stewardship and compassion. Education transformed into lifelong holistic journeys. Learning became a deeply personal and communal process of exploring multiple realities, developing adaptability, creativity, and wisdom. Traditional hierarchies gave way to networks of mentors, peers, and experiential guides. Culturally, humanity celebrated the mystery and wonder of existence. Art, music, and storytelling flourished, exploring themes of illusion, transformation, and transcendence. Rituals and communal gatherings incorporated elements from physical and virtual realms, fostering connection and meaning. This new world was not without challenges. Ethical dilemmas, inequalities, and existential questions persisted. But humanity's approach was fundamentally different. Instead of fearing uncertainty, people engaged with it creatively, viewing reality as a living canvas to be explored and co-created. The universe, once perceived as a static backdrop, became a dynamic, participatory cosmos, responsive to consciousness and intention. Illusion was no longer a limitation, but a gateway to infinite possibility. In this future, the question, what if the universe was just an illusion, was no longer a source of fear or confusion, but a catalyst for wonder, exploration, and profound transformation. As we arrive at the close of this extraordinary journey through the possibility that our universe is, at its core, an illusion, it's worth pausing to reflect on what such a notion truly means for us as individuals and as a species. Throughout history, humanity has sought certainty, a fixed, unshakable foundation on which to build knowledge, identity, and purpose. But the revelation that reality itself may be a layered construct challenges this pursuit at the deepest level. Yet, rather than provoking despair, this realization can inspire humility and wonder. It invites us to see existence not as a rigid, predetermined script, but as an open, participatory experience, one where consciousness and perception play essential roles. If the universe is a vast, unfolding illusion, then each of us holds a piece of its mystery, a thread woven into the fabric of reality itself. This insight encourages us to rethink the meaning of life beyond material success or external achievements. It suggests that what matters most may be the quality of our awareness, the depth of our connections with others, and the creativity with which we engage the world. In an illusory universe, meaning is not found in the permanence of things, but in the richness of experience and the intentionality behind our actions. The question then arises, how do we live in a world where the boundaries between reality and illusion blur? One approach is to cultivate presence and mindfulness, recognizing that while our perceptions may be constructed, the feelings, joys, and sorrows they evoke are deeply real. Embracing this paradox can lead to greater compassion, both for ourselves and for others, as we acknowledge the shared vulnerability of navigating an uncertain cosmos. Philosophically, the illusion hypothesis challenges us to remain open to mystery. It reminds us that knowledge is never complete, and that the universe may hold secrets beyond our current grasp. Instead of fearing the unknown, we can approach it with curiosity and reverence, understanding that exploration itself is a profound expression of human spirit. Scientifically, the journey does not end here. The quest to understand the fundamental nature of reality continues, driven by innovation, collaboration, and the courage to question even the most basic assumptions. As technology evolves, so too will our ability to probe, manipulate, and perhaps even transcend the illusions that shape our world. Spiritually, this perspective resonates with ancient wisdom traditions that emphasize the impermanence and interconnectedness of all things. It offers a bridge between science and spirituality, inviting a synthesis that honors both reason and intuition. Ultimately, the possibility that the universe is an illusion does not diminish our existence. It enriches it. It opens pathways to new ways of being, thinking, and relating. It calls us to embrace the mystery, to find meaning in the dance of light and shadow, and to participate consciously in the unfolding story of reality. So, what if the universe was just an illusion? Maybe it is. And maybe, in embracing this truth, we discover that the deepest reality lies within ourselves, the awareness that observes, questions, and dreams. In that awareness, perhaps, lies the key to unlocking the infinite possibilities of existence. Thank you for joining this exploration. May it inspire you to look beyond appearances, to question boldly, and to live fully in the marvelous mystery of life. Thank you for watching and exploring this mind-bending journey into the nature of reality. If this video sparked your curiosity or made you see the universe in a new light, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Reality may be an illusion, but our quest for understanding is very real. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning.